What do you need to know about Amazon Brand Registry 2.0? And how do you deal with those pesky Amazon hijackers on your listings? We cover these topics in this episode of the Amazon Seller Podcast.
This is the Amazon Seller Podcast, hosted by multi-million-dollar Amazon sellers helping you launch your private label business to the next level. Find us on amazingfreedom.com or subscribe to this podcast on iTunes and YouTube.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Amazon Seller Podcast. My name is Nathan, and I'm here with Liran Hirschkorn and Andy Slamans. And today we're going to be talking to you about two different topics, actually. First, we're going to go over Brand Registry 2.0. I know there's a lot of people that are interested in this because there's been kind of a lot of hype around it in the last couple months, changes on Amazon's side, and basically just information that we need to know about what the changes are to Brand Registry and what it means for us as Amazon sellers. So we'll cover that first, and then we'll also talk about Amazon hijackers, those dreaded hijackers that we all hate to deal with, we all hate to see pop up on our listings, and quite frankly are just really annoying to deal with, right? So we'll talk about Amazon hijackers, what they are, and what you can do to help get them off your listings. So first off, Liran, let's talk about Brand Registry 2.0. You're one of the few people that I know that have actually already been approved for one of your brands in Brand Registry 2.0. So you have a little more insight into this than most of us do, per usual, right? And so why don't you kind of go over what's changed in Brand Registry, what that means for us as Amazon sellers, and what you kind of see the outlook of Brand Registry going forward being.
Sure. So I submitted an application for Brand Registry 2.0. This was a brand that I already had brand registered before, but I wanted to see what the benefits were to getting the new brand registry set up. So I submitted an application. You do need to have your brand registered trademark. So it's not just an application, but you actually need the trademark to be issued. In fact, Amazon emailed trademark 411, which I used to file a verification code that I had to get back from them in order to verify my trademark. So they're definitely going an extra step to make sure that you do have a registered trademark and that you own it. So from there, they approved my application. And now what I have is under brandregistry.amazon.com, I can see I have a Amazon brand registry section. It shows me my enrolled brand. And when I go there, what I can do is I can actually search for, I can upload either an image and search by image to see if anybody is using one of my images, or I can just search by my brand name and see if any listings on Amazon are using my brand name. So there's actually a few sections that are interesting. So the first one is it says, want to report a case of potential infringement. There's used a report a violation tool to search for and report items that may be infringing on your copyright or trademark. So you can actually file, you can actually search for any ASINs or your brand name. It shows you all your listings or any listing using your brand name, and you can actually from there choose any sellers that are on your listings, and actually like it'll say show all images and show offers, and you can actually choose any sellers that are on your listings and file a copyright or trademark infringement right there. So that's pretty cool. This brand for me was already brand gated, which Amazon automatically did. So I don't have any hijackers really on this brand to deal with. The other thing that's kind of cool is there's another section that says, need help. Our specialists on the brand registry support team are standing by. Contact us to receive assistance on issues related to protecting your brand on Amazon. So it seems like you can reach out directly also to the brand registry team if you're having any issues with protecting your brand. So maybe like an additional level of support. So I think it's good. Basically, it's a good addition to having more protection for your brand and the ability to file copyright or trademark infringement violations straight from the brand registry section of the account as opposed to, filling out a separate form.
Well, okay, yeah. So a lot of interesting stuff going on there, because most of the stuff that you mentioned there wasn't really available previously, like being able to just search by image or brand, or even being able to talk to an account specialist. So it sounds like Amazon's, the whole point of this, or Brand Registry 2.0, was to kind of beef up what Amazon is trying to do to protect brands, because they were getting a lot of pushback, it seems like, from mostly bigger brands, but it also helps private label sellers who are having to deal with people infringing on their brand or their images and stuff like that. So that's really interesting. What do you kind of see, what's kind of like the fallout of this, in your opinion, over the next couple of months? Do you think there's going to be a lot more infringement cases being filed on people? Do you think it's going to help protect against Chinese hijackers or whoever hijackers that are creating listings? What do you kind of think is going to be the outlook?
Yeah, I'd imagine that now that Amazon knows that I already have a copyright or a trademark on my brand, that if I file an infringement against somebody, that maybe they would automatically take them off the listing without really maybe looking into it, because I do have the trademark, and I'm both the brand owner and I have a trademark on the brand. So I haven't had to use it because this brand is gated for me, and I'm waiting on a trademark for another brand to be issued, which takes time. So I haven't actually had to use the tool, but I imagine that the response should be probably pretty quick and maybe automatic to remove any hijackers on your listings.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And so the big bottleneck or trouble point for most private label sellers in the new brand registry is the trademark process, right? Because it's not exactly a quick process. We've mentioned in previous episodes that it takes typically 6 to 9 months to get approved for a trademark, and you have to actually be approved here. So that's kind of the new trouble point in getting to brand registry. Previously, it was that you needed to have your logo on the product and the packaging, which seems super simple now, right? Like that's the least of our concerns, because if you're going to get trademarked for a brand, you're typically going to have your logo on your packaging and on your product. So it is more difficult. It's going to be another stepping stone. It's for us as Amazon sellers, we need to continually be looking at the changes that Amazon is doing, kind of becoming better and better as Amazon sellers. And the best way to do that is kind of to stay ahead of the pack, right? So you, Liran, had already applied for a trademark months ago. You didn't wait until Brand Registry 2.0 was coming out. You had already gone through that process. So that's kind of what we want to do as Amazon sellers, is be proactive in staying ahead of what's expected of us from Amazon, from customers, whatever in the industry. So that's what we want to keep trying to bring you in these podcast episodes, in the Amazing Freedom Amazon Sellers Facebook group, in our course, this type of information to keep us as sellers ahead of everyone else. So that's great. So yeah, you mentioned that your brand is already gated, or this specific one. So you haven't had to deal with hijackers, but for some of us that aren't gated with our brand, we do still need to worry about hijackers from time to time, right? And like I mentioned before, this can be really frustrating because if a hijacker comes onto your listing, the big problem, right, is that you can lose the buy box, which means you're losing sales. And another big problem is that if a customer orders from the hijacker and the product isn't the same as yours, or the quality isn't the same, or the logo isn't the same, whatever, they could potentially leave a negative product review on your listing, right? So that's really bad, right? Because it can be hard to remove, even though you can appeal to Amazon and say, hey, this wasn't even my real product. Sometimes it's difficult to get those product reviews removed, and Amazon's kind of their canned messaging responses you get from the support doesn't always help with that situation. So Andy, can you kind of just go over for us again what Amazon hijackers are, because we haven't talked about it specifically what a hijacker is yet on Amazon, and then what kind of the first step of the process is for you to get those hijackers removed from your listing?
Sure. So when you create your listing on Amazon with your unique product that has your unique branding on it, you are the only seller initially of that product. And what happens is there are fraudulent sellers who will then see that your product is selling, and maybe they can get a similar product, right? So like, if you listen to previous podcasts, we import all of our products from India, from China. And so maybe this seller can get a similar product and it doesn't have like our exact brand or logo on the product. Well, they will go ahead and list on our listing. And the way Amazon works is if there's multiple sellers on that listing, a relatively similar price, then Amazon will share that buy box. And so you go from getting 100% of the sales to often maybe only getting 50% or 60%, because Amazon then is going to share those sales with that other seller. And so your goal is a few things. You want to remove that seller as soon as possible. Number one, because probably they're selling fraudulent product. Now, there may be fringe cases, I just want to put this out there, where maybe that seller has one product, right? And so maybe they got it as a gift and they don't want it. In that case, they're okay to sell on that listing because they're selling your product. So maybe they had a friend that purchased your product off Amazon and they're going to resell it. So that's the first thing you always want to check. You want to check how many units that seller has in stock. And so again, sometimes if it's only one, maybe they legitimately, accessed or somehow got your product. But then if that's not the case, and so if they are on there and if they are selling, if they have multiple products, you want to try to get them removed as soon as possible for the very reasons you just mentioned. So what we like to do is we're going to go to their Amazon storefront and we're going to click the button that says ask this seller a question, right? So you can do that. You can go to that button, go to their storefront, and you can go to the little button that says ask the seller a question. We're going to hit that. We are then going to, this is the first step. And it usually like 80-90% of the times when I've done this, when people have jumped on, when fraudulent sellers have jumped on my listing, 80-90% of the time, this first step works. I'm going to send them an email, or I'm going to send it through the Amazon stating that they need to cease and desist from selling this product, and that they will be liable for selling counterfeit products. And if Amazon finds out that they're selling counterfeit products, then more likely than not, Amazon will ban them from the platform. So that's the first step in this process, is you want to contact that seller. You put together a very professional letter. We actually have a PDF that we just put out today that you can go and you can download, and it tells you exactly what we say. So when you do that, you contact that seller in that professional way. Like I said, 80-90% of the times, they're going to remove themselves from their listing.
Awesome. Yeah. So like Andy just mentioned, if you look down in the notes of the show, we'll actually have a link to that PDF, or you can go to amazingfreedom.com/hijacker. And that will also give you access to that PDF that gives you the exact a template that we use, basically, that you can just put in your own information, your brand, the product, and it's pretty well written out, professional looking, so that when they receive that, and what you're really trying to get them to do, right, Andy, is you're kind of trying to scare them a little bit, right? This is kind of like the tactics that big brands use against smaller brands a lot, and we have legitimate reasons to send it out, but we're using words like, if Amazon, we actually put in our template, Amazon's terms of service when it comes to products matching the detail page on Amazon. We say words like, it could remove their selling privileges. So these are words that are used to kind of scare the seller off, right? Because if they're a real seller where, and what I mean by that is they're selling products that they're not supposed to be, but you look at their store and they have tons of products on the store. That means that they're probably interested in keeping their Amazon account, right? They don't want to get suspended. They're probably making money. They're probably selling units. So this is why we think 80-90% of the time they remove themselves, because they don't want to deal with potentially getting suspended. And the reason that they're able to get away with this is because a lot of private label sellers or other brand owners don't send them a cease and desist letter. A lot of sellers, believe it or not, don't even really check their listings all that often. They don't look to see if there's hijackers. They're not sending them emails, or they don't or messages through Amazon, or they don't know that they can send them a cease and desist. So that's why this kind of works for a lot of them. But if you send them the template, in our experience, it's worked 80-90% of the time. So make sure you download that PDF, amazingfreedom.com/hijacker, if you want to get that template. We also go through the rest of our steps if that doesn't work. So Liran, can you kind of go over for us, if you send that first cease and desist, what if they kind of just ignore it? Or they send a message back saying, like buzz off or whatever, what's your next step in the process then?
Yeah, so typically if they ignore it and I don't hear back from them within 24 hours, or they sit, or they say buzz off, then what I do is and what Amazon wants you to do, which you don't really kind of want to do, is Amazon wants you to do a test order and say, okay, well, I'm going to order this product, and then I'm going to show Amazon the images that it's not, the same branded product as mine. And Amazon will then take them off. The issue with that is that when it's very often a seller from China who is shipping from China, and the time is like anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks to get the product, you don't want to wait those 2 to 4 weeks before you can show Amazon images that it's not the same product. So what we do is I actually will go and I'll place a test order, but then I will email the seller again. And actually, I take the email that I received as the order confirmation, and I forward that to the seller with the order confirmation, and say, here's my order below of the product that I ordered from you. And once I receive that product and show Amazon that it's not the branded, trademarked product that I sell, then Amazon will suspend your account for not selling the same item. And so, and I always say trademarked, branded, whether it is or it isn't. That's what I tell them. And so, what I offer them in that email is I say, however, if you remove yourself from the listing in the next 8 hours, I will request that you cancel my order, and we'll not show this to Amazon. And that has worked really, really well. Around, at least half the time the cease and desist works. But if not, this has worked for me 100% of the time. And they will respond, because now they know that you're showing them an order number that they can confirm that they received. So they know you're serious, you've ordered the product, and they know that eventually, if they don't respond to you, that you will get them taken off the listing and potentially, get hit with violation and maybe suspended from Amazon. So this kind of accelerates the process, instead of having to wait to just get the product or not get the product and then file an A-to-Z claim. This accelerates the process, because the seller will very often remove themselves, and you can say to them, okay, please cancel the order. And so that's proven to work 100% of the time.
Awesome. And we mentioned in the step-by-step PDF, again, that you can find in the notes, that we like to say that the orders being sent to our quality assurance team kind of makes it seem like, we're doing a thorough check of the product to make sure that it's, again, the trademarked, branded product that it's supposed to be on Amazon. And yeah, thankfully this works, like Liran said, in our experience, 100% of the time up to here, because again, if they're interested in keeping their account, their selling privileges, at this point, they know that we're serious in trying to remove them, and typically they're not going to want to deal with that process. Now, let's say that they still don't care. They might, there's some sellers who have fake accounts basically set up where they're just trying to receive money quick, and then they'll almost close their account or whatever, which again doesn't happen a lot, but it could happen. So if those first two steps don't work, you might need to actually receive the product and take the images, like Liran mentioned, is the way that Amazon, if you ask Amazon what you're supposed to do when you have a hijacker, this is what they'll tell you to do, right? They'll tell you to order the product and take pictures and let them know that it's not, if it doesn't match. So you might have to actually do that. If the first two steps don't work for you, then you go to the third one. However, if they are that kind of fake account where they're never going to send the product because they just have that long lead time of maybe over 4 weeks and they're trying to get as many orders as possible, then you might need to open up a A to Z claim. This is kind of what you don't want to get to because it just takes time and it's a pain to deal with. But thankfully, the first 2 steps take care of the most common type of hijacker, and it has worked very, very well for us. So I think that's a great process. Brand Registry 2.0 is something that as private label sellers, all of us are going to want to, the goal should be to eventually work towards that. One thing that we didn't mention about that, though, that I want to ask you, Liran, what would you say to someone who has a brand, they're not real confident whether they're going to, continue, or they're just starting a new brand and they think that they need to get brand registered right away? What is your professional opinion on Brand Registry 2.0 and where it should be in the private label seller goals process?
Sure. So the first thing, if you're just getting started with private label, what you should really focus on is just getting a product launched. Don't really worry about a lot of the other things. Get a product, imported. Get a brand, and logo on it. But don't worry so much about the other stuff or the brand registry yet. Now, if you know for sure, if you're very committed to using this brand name, whether or not this one product works or not, let's say you're doing a kitchen product and your brand is called Joe's Kitchen Products. Well, if you're very committed to that name and you know that whether or not this product works, I'm launching 3 more kitchen products, then I would say, go ahead if you have the budget for it. It's not a crazy amount of money. It's you'll end up spending between $400 and $500 to go through the trademark process using like a service. And so go ahead and get a trademark. But if you've chosen more of a niche name, or if you don't know, so let's say you're selling you're selling spatula, right? And you've named it Joe's Spatulas, and you don't know if that's going to end up working out or not, then wait. You don't need to file the brand registry right away. You can go through, if you have Hijackers, you can go through this process that we just went through and just focus on launching a product and doing it successfully. And once you see some traction with it, then you can go ahead and file the trademark. If you choose a more general name and you're committed to it and you're committed to private labeling and you have the budget, if the extra $500 isn't a big deal, then go ahead and file the trademark. But if it's either inventory or $500 on trademark, then don't worry about the trademark. Go get inventory, turn it over, source more product, and then worry about it later.
Great. All right. Thanks. Well, I think that gives us a good look at both the Amazon brand registry process and how to remove Amazon hijackers. Both super important topics, points that there's a lot of miscommunication or misinformation out there on. So it's great to kind of clear this up and to get both of your opinions on these topics. And don't forget, if you're listening to this, you can actually download a free PDF that we've put together on our 4-step process that we went through here on how to remove Amazon hijackers from your listings. We actually give you the templates that we use in that PDF. So it's a really helpful resource. You can claim that at amazingfreedom.com/hijacker, or you can see it in the show notes below. We should have a link to be able to download that PDF as well. Really helpful information. And if you aren't checking your listings or are worried about Amazon hijackers, I think this will be really helpful to you. So that's going to do it for us today on this topic. Thanks again, guys, for that great information that you gave to us. If you haven't yet, you can subscribe to our podcast so that you get notified of future episodes. And also, if you don't mind, if you could just leave us a review on iTunes of the podcast. You have to actually go to the downloadable iTunes program to leave us a review. That's really helpful for us. It encourages us to keep bringing you new episodes, and it means a lot to us when we see those positive remarks. That's going to do it for today. So we'll see you on the next episode of the Amazon Seller Podcast.
You've been listening to the Amazon Seller Podcast. Make sure to subscribe and join us next time for another look at how to dominate the Amazon marketplace.